In the early 1980s, Afghan-born Zia Ibrahimzadeh met Zahra in her home country of Iran. They got married in 1985. 2 years later, their daughter Athena and son Armin were born. In 1997, the family moved to Adelaide, Australia, and in the same year, Zahra gave birth to her third child, Anita. To everyone around, this family turned out to be very happy. They spent a lot of time together, the children were friendly and did well at school. Moreover, Zia was respected in society. He was a good lawyer who came with a lot of experience from Iran. But it was just a mask of an enthusiastic careerist who was loved by society. Home Zia was a completely different person. The daughter said, "I have never seen affection at home from my father. It was completely foreign to me." Zia not only showed no affection for his wife and children, but also regularly hurt and threatened them. There were times when the arguments escalated, then it led to the fact that my father bullied my mother. For example, he hit his face with a belt, and to such an extent that the bruise did not go away for 4 weeks. Zahra knew it was wrong, but she was afraid to leave, and was afraid of what Zia would do to her children if she wasn't around. But the incidents got worse and worse. I remember that at one point my mom was lying on the floor unconscious, and my dad was still kicking her. Even in these terrible conditions, Zahra stayed at home and guarded her children. The woman was sure that Zia earns more than she will ever be able to earn as a single mother with 3 children. But one day it seemed too much even for her. In February 2009, the quarrel escalated as ever. Zia not only hit Zahra, but also began to threaten the whole family. He grabbed a kitchen knife and started pointing it at his children. Armand struggled with him and asked him to calm down. But Zia kept muttering that he would burn the house to the ground along with everyone in it. For Zahra, this was the last straw. She saw her husband's eyes and realized that he was really capable of killing his entire family. The next day, she and her 3 children ran away from home while Zia was at work. But they understood perfectly well that he would not just leave it like that. And soon she received a terrifying confirmation. Zia talked to his brother and told him that Zahra had disgraced and humiliated him, and that he would take revenge. And there was another problem. The family could not escape from Australia because Anita was still a minor. Therefore, the male turned for advice and protection to the consultant on domestic violence and family court lawyer. When we first met, she told me, "I'm afraid for my life. My husband will find me and kill you." Zahra needed a quick divorce to get custody of the children and the freedom she had dreamed of for so long. But in a conversation with a lawyer, it turned out that this is easier said than done. The only realistic option was to get a restraining order. Zahra did so, but there was one loophole. Zia could come to their house to meet with his youngest daughter until she turned 18. Of course, these meetings were supervised, but that didn't stop him from threatening his family every time he came to their house. Armin witnessed these threats and wasted no time in contacting the police. But there was another problem: the police didn't listen. I reported this to the police, but they did not consider it a violation of the injunction. The police simply could not do anything, because Z did not say directly when and how he was going to kill Zahra. As you can imagine, the family constantly felt anxious and helpless. Zahra and her children lived in safe places, constantly changing addresses and constantly looking around, expecting to see Zia with a knife. They were very careful when talking to people, so as not to give out any details that could help the man track them down. All this time, Zia was plotting his revenge, and in March 2010, his lawyers obtained a commutation of the restraining order. He wanted to attend public events, even if Zahra was in the same place. The woman found out about it from her lawyer, and they went to court, begging them not to do it. The prosecutor warned Zahra that if she loses the battle, she may lose the restraining order altogether. She couldn't let that happen, so she let Zia win. The changes should never have been made because they allowed Mr. Ibrahim Zadeh to gain access to Zahra, which he would never normally have. If this access had not been allowed to him, then the events of that night would not have happened. March 21, 2010, at the conference center. Delaida's party was held on the occasion of the Persian New Year. Surveillance cameras show Zia arriving at the center alone and looking calm. Zahra and her eldest daughter was also there along with other people, and he knew it. The woman went to this party because she was sure that Zia would not come there. She had known him for 3 decades and knew that he hated big events. In addition, tickets to the party were sold months before he received a commutation of the restraining order. She thought that the probability of him being there was very small. But 20 minutes after Zahra's arrival, Zia entered the hall, and Athena immediately noticed him. She rushed to the guards and explained to them the terrible situation. The girl asked them to accompany her and her mother to the car. They agreed, but decided that it would be safer for them to be in the center building at this time. After all, they were surrounded by people. And it was a fatal mistake. While Zahra was sitting, Zia rushed to her with a knife and struck 8 blows. Back, neck and head in front of 300 people. All I remember is turning around to check on my mom and seeing my dad with a knife in his hand. He continued to strike her even after she fell lifeless to the floor. In the end, Zia was pushed into the kitchen and followed until the police arrived. He calmly waited for the officers and sat with an indifferent expression on his face. At one point, he asked someone for a napkin to wipe the glasses from the blood. That same night, Zahra died in the hospital. Her children were left with scars for life, knowing that Z fulfilled his evil promise, and the police could not help the family. For Armand, it was the moment when he realized what he wanted to do in life. He decided to speak out against domestic violence and make sure that the police take threats more seriously. We foresaw this event, and it could have been stopped by the authorities. Ladies and gentlemen, today is just another day when the system failed to protect a brave woman, a caring friend, and a loving mother. Zia was charged with first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison, with the possibility of parole in 26 years. This sentence seems a little light for the gravity of the situation, given the decade of torture his family endured at his hands. From prison, Zia wrote Arman a long letter in which he portrayed himself as a victim. Do you think I deserve such punishment because I married an Iranian woman? For 25 years, I suffered from sarcasm, verbal insults, belittling, false accusations, threats, and in the end, I was deprived of everything. Everything that was earned by hard work for 35 years of work, including lost families and children. How much do you think a person's body and mind can withstand? How long can a person live in fear and anxiety without having any security? Everything has a capacity, exceeding which leads to overflow. First of all, he humiliates his wife for being Iranian. He then accuses her of threatening him and justifies her actions in this way. Even more outrageously, Brodzi went to the press and said that the justice system had failed. I think it was not quite fair to him. It seems to me that this should be considered as manslaughter, because many provocations were committed against him. Armand uses the horrific murder of his mother as an illustration to try to bring as many positive changes as possible to the laws on domestic violence. In the end, for his courageous actions, he was named the best young resident, South Australia. During his speech, he said, "It's all good and nice to be recognized, but I would like my mom to be here and praise me." As a result of Armand's action, 40 charges were brought against the way the South Australian police handled issues of domestic violence. Unfortunately, too often we hear stories where women had no choice but to return to their partners because they could not find housing or they ran out of money. Our goal is to offer women and children long-term help and support to rebuild their lives. What do you think about this story? Write your opinion in the comments, as well as subscribe to my YouTube channel and other social networks. There is a link to them in the pinned comment under the video. We don't say goodbye.